calls on Harry Kane in a second, and some people saying he hasn't turned up for a test. He was meant to turn up apparently at Spurs today, whether it was training, whether it was a test, whatever it was, he hasn't. That's the story. And as we said earlier, if there is a different side to the story, whatever that might be, then fair enough. But as it stands right now, the story is Harry Kane hasn't turned up for training. And that is a massive story, whether you like it or not. And interestingly, the comparison, your old club, West Brom, Mathias Pereira has just issued a statement saying he wants to leave, but he wants to do it in a fair and correct manner. He wants to respect all the professionals at West Brom and the fans as well. I'm a professional, will always respect that. So he's issued a statement clearly saying he wants to leave. Harry could ask for a transfer, couldn't he? He could actually slap in a transfer request, as they say. Yeah,
he could. And again, that puts you under pressure. That puts you in a slightly different situation. Look, if all of a sudden this deal has got to a point where City have got a number and they ain't budging anymore, they've got Grealish they want to do, and if all of a sudden let's come up with a number, it's 125. They're stuck at right now. And we're not going any higher. Yep. And now Harry's sat there and he's been told he can go and it's 150. Well, then, listen, that they know the number and they will have known that number, Man City. So the ball is very much in their court. Come up with the money, otherwise the player stays. It's just this gentleman's agreement. I'm just staggered that all of a sudden because Gary mentioned it in that Gary Neville interview, didn't he? He mentioned, that there might be some sort of agreement in place that, down the line as such. You can't, I mean, that just don't happen in football, Aid, enough. I wish it did. And I think everyone would like to think you can shake someone's hand and that's the end of it and that's binding. How many people in everyday life shake someone's hand and find they get shafted 6 months later? It's happening every day. Football's no different. So I'm just amazed that when Harry signed that deal, if the number he's got in there is an exaggerated one and it's one that Man City aren't prepared to meet, then he's going to have to get his head down and get on with life at Spurs.
Alex, a Spurs fan, what do you think? You're on talkSPORT.
Hi, Adrian. Hi, Al. How you doing?
All good, mate. Good to have you on.
Yeah, I'm just a bit shocked, really, of how it's all sort of come about today. Obviously, as Spurs fans, we don't begrudge Kane that he obviously does want to move on and win stuff, and he is ambitious. It's just more of a case of how it came about. Obviously, you had the Gary Neville interview, which sort of kicked it off. You had the Sun newspaper, and now you've had today. I just feel like his brother, who's advising him extremely poorly. It was obviously the same brother which let him sign this 6-year deal only 3 years ago. Man City have only offered £100 million accordingly for Harry Kane. Well, we're not going to be bullied to just accept that. Eden Hazard went for 130 million when he had 12 months left of his contract to Real Madrid. So why would we want to sell Harry Kane for 100 million to a Premier League rival? It just doesn't make sense at all. I think as Spurs fans, we feel let down. Like I said, I think we all understood that he wanted to move on. We didn't want him to move on, but we accept it. I think just the way of how he's gone about stuff today, especially not just being the Spurs captain, but the England captain, I think it's just appalling, to be honest with you.
It's very interesting. I mean, Alex makes some very relevant, some very good points there.
Cheers,
I remember back in '95, Kevin Keegan stood on the steps outside St James Park and was there when Andy Cole was going to Man United. And Coley was goals, pure goals, and you could understand why Sir Alex wanted to take him. And Newcastle were obviously a team under Kevin that was riding, the crest of a wave.
They were competing.
They were competing. And I remember Kevin standing there going, you got to trust me on this one, to fans outside who couldn't believe that they were selling goals, that they were going to let this man go. And then all of a sudden, Coley goes and obviously had a great spell at Manchester United and scored tons of goals for them. Of course, that was always going to happen. But Kevin got Shearer, he got Les, he got Ginola, then Batty came, then all these other boys started to come in, and they moulded and shaped a proper team that came very, very close to taking a Premier League title. Didn't quite get it done. But even so, why is there not a bit of this thought with all the Spurs fans, and listening to Alex there now? A player can go. Harry Kane can leave Spurs, Aid. They can get a lot of money for him, and they can kick on, move on, and still be successful. There's this feeling amongst Tottenham fans, I get the vibe, that like, if Harry Kane leaves, you might as well fold the club up, put it in a bin, and just forget about it, as if it can't function, it can't exist. Of course it can. Of course it can. It's going to need some shrewd wheeling and dealing. Well, then, and of course, past history tells us that when they got the Bale money, they squandered a lot of that. That wasn't spent particularly well. So there'll be all of that, yes, the Spurs fans will be thinking about. But I also believe that there might be an opportunity here. There might be an opportunity to take massive money for someone and go and create another Spurs team, a team that might get close like Pochettino's.
The way to do it, when Nuno came in, just say, look, let's draw a line under this. Kane goes, you've got a load of money, directors. Who do you want us to sign to build a Spurs side that can establish itself in the top 4 and go on and compete at the very top level? And it feels like they're getting too close to the start of the season to make that happen. It's almost like they're writing off this season by not having taken that step. And that's maybe a Levy problem. Man City needs to stump up the money. Kane needs to turn up to training. And Spurs need to get the deal done because he doesn't want to stay. It's that simple, isn't it? More of your calls after the break.